If someone told me 4 years ago that I'd walk into my 10-year high school reunion with every head turning and every jaw dropping, I probably would have laughed and gone back to hiding behind my bangs. My name is Maddie, and back in high school, I was invisible. No, actually, worse than invisible. I was the weird girl. The one people whispered about in the hallway, laughed at in the cafeteria, and purposely ignored in group projects. I wasn't ugly, exactly, but I didn't know how to present myself. I had braces until senior year, my hair was this dull, tangled mess I never knew how to style, and my wardrobe was basically oversized hoodies and hand-me-down jeans from my cousin. But what made things worse was my awkwardness. I never knew the right thing to say, I blushed if someone even looked at me too long, and I had a nervous laugh that sounded like a duck with hiccups. The worst part? The one person I thought was my friend, Lily, turned out to be my biggest enemy. We'd known each other since middle school, and while I always thought of her as my best friend, she clearly saw me as her sidekick. The ugly, nerdy girl who made her look better by comparison. She was the one who convinced me to go to prom with Jack Lawson, only to find out she dared him to ask me as a joke. That night, I found out the truth in the most humiliating way. They announced it in front of the whole dance floor. Everyone laughed. I cried in the bathroom for an hour before sneaking out the back door. That moment broke me. I didn't even go to graduation. But what they didn't know was that night started something in me. A quiet fire. A whisper that said, never again. That summer, I told my parents I wanted a fresh start. I applied to colleges out of state, got accepted into a program for digital media, and packed up everything I owned. I didn't just move cities, I moved identities. I chopped off my hair, started wearing clothes that actually fit my body, learned how to do my makeup by watching YouTube tutorials for hours at night. And the braces? Gone. I got Invisalign through my college insurance and finally felt like I could smile without covering my mouth. I also started working out, not for anyone else, but for me. I joined a boxing gym and started lifting. Slowly, I built confidence. Real, earned confidence. Not the kind that came from being liked by popular people but from seeing myself change, from becoming someone I actually respected. And then, there was Alex. Alex was the first person who saw the real me, not the girl I used to be, or the one I was trying to become, but the messy, in-between version I didn't show anyone else. We met during a group project in sophomore year of college, and at first, I thought he was just being polite. He had that golden boy look, soft curls, smile that reached his eyes, and this easy confidence that made people naturally gravitate to him. But he wasn't like the popular guys I'd known before. He actually listened. He noticed things, like how I always double-checked the details before submitting anything, or how I'd bring an extra coffee to class just in case someone forgot theirs. One night, after we'd stayed up late editing a project, he walked me home and said, "You're kind of amazing, you know that?" And I laughed, because it felt so surreal to hear someone say that to me without sarcasm. But he meant it. And slowly, I started letting myself believe it. Alex never tried to fix me. He just encouraged me to keep growing. We started dating officially that spring, and I told him everything, about Lily, about the prom prank, about how small I used to feel. And he didn't flinch. He just held me and said, "You never deserved any of that." With him, I began to heal. But this story isn't about a love that saved me. It's about the revenge that came later, sweet, unexpected, and absolutely unplanned. It started with a message. One day, out of nowhere, I got a Facebook invite to my high school's 10-year reunion. I hadn't thought about those people in forever. I barely used Facebook, but something about the invite made me pause. Curiosity? Spite? Closure? I clicked interested and told myself I wouldn't go. But that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. What if I showed up? What if they didn't even recognize me? What if Lily saw me, really saw me, and realized she didn't break me, she built me? I joked about it with Alex, and he said, "You should go. Not for them. For you." I thought about it for a week. Then I RSVP'd, yes. I booked a flight home, picked out an outfit that made me feel like a goddess, and promised myself I wouldn't spiral if it all went sideways. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I was doing this to reclaim the version of me they never got to meet. And then, 3 days before the reunion, something wild happened. I got a message from Lily. She had the audacity to write, "Hey. Saw your RSVP. Can't wait to catch up. Missed you." I stared at the screen for a full minute. Missed me? Was this some kind of joke? But instead of ignoring it, I replied with a simple, "Looking forward to seeing you too." Let her wonder. Let her squirm. The day of the reunion, I was a bundle of nerves. I hadn't been back to my hometown in years, and everything felt like a strange mix of nostalgia and déjà vu. The school gym was decorated with fairy lights and photo boards filled with embarrassing high school memories. I walked in, head high, heart pounding. For a second, no one noticed. No. I finally looked like myself. She didn't respond right away. Then she sighed and said, "Look, I know we weren't super close in high school. But I always thought you had potential." I couldn't help it, I laughed. "You thought I had potential? Is that what you call dumping juice in my backpack and voting me most forgettable in that fake yearbook you passed around?" Her face flushed. I was a kid, Maddie. We were all just immature. It was stupid, I know, but it wasn't personal. I stared at her, holding her gaze. It was personal to me. She looked away, biting her lip like she wanted to apologize but didn't know how. I let the silence stretch. Let her stew in it. Then she blurted, "I didn't think you'd actually show up. When I saw your RSVP, I was like, what does she want?" "Closure," I said simply. Or maybe a reminder that I survived. That hit her hard. She stood there, speechless. And then, for the first time since I'd arrived, I saw it, the crack in her perfect facade. Not jealousy, exactly. But something worse. Realization. She knew I had become everything she feared, someone who thrived without her validation. Someone who no longer cared about fitting in. Someone who could walk away and still own the room. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need revenge served cold or dramatic scenes. My glow-up was loud enough. Still, part of me wanted to leave her with something she'd remember every time she looked in the mirror. So I leaned in and whispered, "You taught me something, Lily. That cruelty is forgettable, but kindness leaves a mark. You could have been part of my glow-up. Instead, you're just part of the backstory." I walked away without looking back. And just like that, the final string tying me to the old version of myself snapped clean. After that night, something shifted in me. It wasn't just the satisfaction of seeing Lily squirm, it was the realization that I had finally closed a chapter one never thought I'd escape from. For years, I had fantasized about a moment like that. I used to dream about walking into a room and making everyone who ever mocked me question their life choices. But when it actually happened, it wasn't about them. It was about me reclaiming the space I once tried to shrink away from. I left the reunion with my head high and my heels clicking confidently down the pavement. When I got home, I lit a candle, washed my face, and looked in the mirror, not to check for flaws, but to truly see myself. I liked the girl staring back. She looked calm, strong, and beautifully unbothered. A few days later, I got a message from an old classmate, Jake. He had been one of the few people who never laughed when Lily's crew was in attack mode. He messaged, "Hey, just wanted to say it was really nice seeing you. You seem grounded. Different, in the best way." I smiled and replied, "Thanks. Took a while, but I finally got here." We ended up chatting more. Turns out, he'd always thought I was too cool for our high school scene and was glad I came back as unapologetically myself. It was weird at first, talking to someone from my past with zero shame. But it also felt freeing. Over the next few weeks, more messages trickled in. Some were compliments, others were clumsy apologies wrapped in nostalgia. Even Lily messaged once, "I hope we can stay in touch." I left her on read. I had nothing to prove anymore. Instead, I focused on building the life I had carved for myself. I kept up my fitness routine, took joy in styling outfits I once thought I wasn't cool enough to wear, and even started my own content page about healing, glow-ups, and self-worth. The messages I got from girls who had also been bullied, ignored, or underestimated poured in like love letters. They told me I gave them hope. That they saw themselves in me. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. One comment stood out, "You didn't just glow up, you grew up." And that's way more powerful. I pinned it. Because it was true. Glow up revenge isn't about showing them you're pretty now. It's about showing yourself you were always enough, and now you know it. I wasn't trying to make anyone jealous. I just wanted to live fully, without apology. But karma has a way of doing its job whether you plan it or not. One day, I was tagged in a TikTok that had gone semi-viral. Then versus now challenge. Someone had posted a collage from our high school yearbook next to a photo of me at the reunion. The caption read, "She didn't just glow up, she became that girl." The comments were wild. "She ate that. Lily could never. High school is temporary, confidence is forever." I laughed, because even strangers could see it. Lily messaged again. "I saw the TikTok. You look amazing. I guess I deserved that." I didn't answer. Not because I was being petty, but because I no longer owed her a conversation. I'd spent too many years replaying her words in my head like a curse. Now, I didn't even flinch when her name popped up. That's the real revenge, isn't it? Not screaming or slamming doors. But peace. Pure, steady peace. I had a vision board in my apartment, filled with pictures of places I wanted to go, outfits I wanted to wear, quotes that reminded me of who I was becoming. At the center was a sticky note that read, "You already are her. Just step into it." And every morning, I did. I wasn't just living for a glow-up anymore. I was living for joy, alignment, and softness. Because I had hardened myself to survive those years. But now, I was safe enough to be soft again. That was the real win. And the best part? I wasn't even close to finished yet. With the TikTok blowing up and people from my past trying to reconnect, I found myself in this weird limbo between my old world and the new one I had built. It was almost surreal, watching people who used to avoid eye contact in the halls now double tap on my photos or slide into my DMs pretending we'd always been close. But I didn't feel bitter. I just felt detached. Like I had finally outgrown the version of myself who needed their approval. Around that time, my glow-up content started gaining traction. What began as me casually sharing my skincare routine and gym progress turned into something much bigger. Girls messaged me about how they'd lost themselves in toxic friendships, bad breakups, or just years of insecurity, and how my posts reminded them that it wasn't too late to take their power back. That lit something in me. I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. I started filming more intentionally. Hi besties, I begin each vlog. Here's how I reclaimed my confidence after being made fun of for years. I'd walk them through my morning routine, coffee, journaling, walking around the block with affirmations playing in my headphones. I showed them the apps I used to plan my meals, the way I created Pinterest mood boards for every season of my life, the little rituals that made me feel pretty even on my period. And the comments flooded in. "This feels like a safe space. You make me want to care for myself again. You're like the big sister I never had." That one made me cry. Because deep down, I had always wished someone would have taken my hand when I was 16 and said, "You don't have to shrink yourself to fit into their boxes. You were made to stand out." And now, I got to be that girl for someone else. The more I shared, the more I healed. One night, I decided to go live and talk about what really happened in high school. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. I just told the truth, the loneliness, the internalized shame, the way I used to hate my reflection. I explained how none of it changed until I stopped trying to be liked and started trying to be loved, by me. After the live ended, I sat in silence. My phone kept buzzing with messages. But I just stared at the wall, letting the stillness wash over me. Because that was the night I realized I had finally forgiven my past. Not just the people, but the version of me who didn't know better. I stopped punishing her. I stopped replaying the awkward conversations and cringy outfits and wishing I could erase them. They were part of my story. Part of what got me here. A few days later, I bumped into someone unexpected while shopping. Natalie. She had been Lily's sidekick in school, always the echo to her insults. She looked surprised to see me. "Wow, you look different," she said. I smiled, soft but unfazed. "Thanks. Life's been good." She nodded, then hesitated. "I just wanted to say. I was a coward back then. I saw what they were doing to you and I didn't stop it. I'm sorry." That caught me off guard. Not because I needed the apology, but because it reminded me how far I'd come. I told her, "We were kids. But I'm glad you said that. It means a lot." We didn't exchange numbers. There was no dramatic reconciliation. Just two people owning what was and choosing to move forward differently. And that was enough. That night, I lit another candle, put on my silk pajamas, and danced in my apartment to Beyoncé like I had nothing to prove. Because I didn't. I had already won. Not just against Lily or high school or insecurity, but against the voice in my head that used to whisper, "You'll never be enough." That voice was silent now. Or maybe I had just gotten louder. I journaled that night, "You don't need revenge. You just need peace. And when you have it, it radiates louder than any glow-up ever could." Then I made myself tea and fell asleep smiling. Not because life was perfect, but because I had finally made it my own. After that night, something shifted inside me. It wasn't just about proving anything anymore. I had spent so long thinking the glow-up would be some kind of final destination, that once I looked the part, confidence would magically stick. But in truth, it was the quiet things that changed me the most. Setting boundaries. Saying no without guilt. Choosing rest over proving myself. That was the real glow-up. And slowly, I began attracting people who saw me, not just for the transformation, but for the softness, the discipline, the light I had built on my own terms. I met new friends, girls who rooted for each other out loud, who celebrated my wins and shared their own insecurities without fear of being judged. It felt like I had stepped into a different universe. A parallel reality where I didn't have to perform to be loved. We'd go to yoga, grab matcha, spend afternoons thrifting outfits we didn't need but made us feel good. There was laughter, ease, realness. One of them, Sammy, became especially close. She was the first friend I ever had who complimented me without comparing herself, who held space without asking for anything in return. One day we were sitting on my couch painting our nails when she looked at me and said, "You know, I don't think people understand how brave you are. It's not just the glow up. It's that you chose yourself. Even when no one else did." I froze for a second. No one had ever said it like that before. I didn't cry, but something cracked open in me. A tender, soft space I hadn't touched in years. Because she was right. The hardest part wasn't changing how I looked. It was changing what I believed I deserved. Around that time, I got invited to a local women's event to speak on confidence and healing your inner critic. I almost said no. Imposter syndrome hit hard. But Sammy talked me into it. "Someone out there needs to hear your story," she said. So I went. I stood in front of 50 women, some older, some younger, and told them everything. Not the highlight reel. The real stuff. I talked about being mocked in school, hiding in bathroom stalls, crying over rejection. I shared how I tried shrinking myself into invisibility, thinking maybe that was safer. Then I told them how I got tired of waiting for someone to pick me. So I picked myself. And everything changed. When I finished, the room was quiet. Then someone stood up and clapped. Then another. Then all of them. I don't remember what happened after that, only that I walked out of that building lighter. Like I had just made peace with every version of me I'd ever been. That night, Lily viewed my story again. I knew because her name still showed up at the top. The irony didn't sting anymore. It just felt small. She was still watching. Still lurking. But I was no longer living for her gaze. I was living for mine. I no longer needed her recognition. I had mine. And it was enough. Later that week, I ran into someone else from the past. Ben. My old high school crush. The one who had laughed when I confessed I liked him and told his friends. He looked shocked to see me. Wow. You look, he trailed off. Happy, I finished for him. He nodded slowly. Yeah. That too. He asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime. I smiled and said, thanks, but I'm good. I walked away, heart steady, heels clicking, peace radiating like perfume. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to be wanted. I was choosing who got access to me. My time, my energy, my light. And that, to me, was the most powerful revenge of all. A few weeks later, something happened that I didn't expect. My high school had its 5-year reunion. And for some reason I couldn't quite explain, I felt like I needed to go. Not for them, but for me. Not to show off. Not to rub it in anyone's face. But to walk into a room I used to shrink in and take up space, fully and unapologetically. Sammy helped me get ready. She curled my hair while we played Confident by Demi Lovato, and she made me repeat affirmations out loud. I am not that girl anymore. I don't owe anyone the watered-down version of me. I laughed, but it stuck. I wore this soft pink satin slip dress with delicate straps and a slit up the side, not because it was sexy, but because it made me feel like me. Feminine. Free. Glowing from within. When I arrived at the reunion, I could feel eyes on me instantly. The kind of double takes that used to make me panic, now, they made me smile. I didn't flinch. I didn't apologize. I just walked in like I belonged, because I finally knew I did. Lily was there, of course. She was at the bar with a small crowd around her, still holding court like she always used to. For a moment, I felt like I'd stepped into a time machine. The music, the voices, the dynamic. But then she looked at me, and blinked. Like she didn't recognize me at first. And maybe she didn't. I walked over calmly. She gave me that small fake smile she always reserved for people she didn't expect to show up. Hey, wow. You look different, she said, eyes scanning me like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. So do you, I replied sweetly, and sipped my drink. There was silence for a beat too long. Then she asked, so what do you do now? I knew that question. It was the same one people used to rank you quickly. But I didn't flinch. I write. I speak. I help women heal their confidence. What about you? She blinked again. Oh, marketing. Then she added, I've seen some of your stuff actually. Like on Instagram. I nodded. Yeah, I noticed you watch my stories. That caught her off guard. She laughed awkwardly and said, I mean yeah, it's really cool, what you're doing. I could have let it end there. But something inside me wanted closure. Lily, can I ask you something? She looked wary. Sure. Back in high school, did you ever feel bad about how you treated me? She looked surprised, almost offended. I mean, we were kids. Everyone was just trying to survive, right? I nodded slowly. The one who had laughed when I confessed I liked him and told his friends. He looked shocked to see me. Wow. You look, he trailed off. Happy, I finished for him. He nodded slowly. Yeah. That too. He asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime. I smiled and said, thanks, but I'm good. I walked away, heart steady, heels clicking, peace radiating like perfume. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to be wanted. I was choosing who got access to me. My time, my energy, my light. And that, to me, was the most powerful revenge of all. A few weeks later, something happened that I didn't expect. My high school had its 5-year reunion. And for some reason I couldn't quite explain, I felt like I needed to go. Not for them, but for me. Not to show off. Not to rub it in anyone's face. But to walk into a room I used to shrink in and take up space, fully and unapologetically. Sammy helped me get ready. She curled my hair while we played Confident by Demi Lovato, and she made me repeat affirmations out loud. I am not that girl anymore. I don't owe anyone the watered-down version of me. I laughed, but it stuck. I wore this soft pink satin slip dress with delicate straps and a slit up the side, not because it was sexy, but because it made me feel like me. Feminine. Free. Glowing from within. When I arrived at the reunion, I could feel eyes on me instantly. The kind of double takes that used to make me panic, now, they made me smile. I didn't flinch. I didn't apologize. I just walked in like I belonged, because I finally knew I did. Lily was there, of course. She was at the bar with a small crowd around her, still holding court like she always used to. For a moment, I felt like I'd stepped into a time machine. The music, the voices, the dynamic. But then she looked at me, and blinked. Like she didn't recognize me at first. And maybe she didn't. I walked over calmly. She gave me that small fake smile she always reserved for people she didn't expect to show up. Hey, wow. You look different, she said, eyes scanning me like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. So do you, I replied sweetly, and sipped my drink. There was silence for a beat too long. Then she asked, so what do you do now? I knew that question. It was the same one people use to rank you quickly. But I didn't flinch. I write. I speak. I help women heal their confidence. What about you? She blinked again. Oh, marketing. Then she added, I've seen some of your stuff actually. Like on Instagram. I nodded. Yeah, I noticed you watch my stories. That caught her off guard. She laughed awkwardly and said, I mean yeah, it's really cool, what you're doing. I could have let it end there. But something inside me wanted closure. Lily, can I ask you something? She looked wary. Sure. Back in high school, did you ever feel bad about how you treated me? She looked surprised, almost offended. I mean, we were kids. Everyone was just trying to survive, right? I nodded slowly. After the reunion, I didn't expect much to change. I had my closure, my moment, and I was ready to keep moving forward. But life has a funny way of surprising you when you're not trying so hard. A week later, I got a message request on Instagram. It was from Josh. Yes, that Josh. The boy I crushed on in high school who never gave me the time of day and once told his friend I was too intense to date. My heart stuttered for a second, but I opened it calmly. He said, Hey, saw you at the reunion. You look amazing. I always knew you'd be something special. Would love to catch up sometime. I stared at the message for a full minute, almost laughing. Not because I still wanted him, but because younger me would have melted. She would have spent hours overthinking what to say, what to wear, whether she was good enough. But me now? I smiled and closed the app. No response needed. That wasn't my revenge, it was my reminder of how far I'd come. But I won't lie, it felt damn good. Over the next few months, I focused on expanding my content. My videos started reaching more people. I started doing mini workshops online, and eventually booked a few speaking gigs at girls' schools. One girl messaged me after and said, "I used to hate my smile. Then I saw how confidently you laughed on stage and realized it was okay to take up space." I cried. Because that was everything I never had, and now I got to be that for someone else. I still had hard days. I still looked in the mirror sometimes and saw the girl from the past. But I didn't let her take over anymore. I sat with her. I told her she was safe now. That she didn't need to shrink or pretend or people please to be worthy. I even made a video series called Letters to My Younger Self, where I wrote out things I wished someone had told me at 13, 16, 18. It resonated with thousands. Women shared their own stories. It wasn't just a glow up. It was a revolution. One day, I ran into Lily again. This time, at a networking event in the city. She looked polished, perfect as always, but a little more tired. She walked over and said hi. We talked for a bit, surface-level stuff, until she asked, "Do you ever miss how simple things were in school?" I tilted my head. "I don't think they were ever simple for me," I said gently. She nodded, then admitted, "Sometimes I wonder what it would have been like to be friends with you for real." That hit me. Because despite everything, I believed her. Maybe she finally saw me as a whole person, not a threat. Maybe not. But either way, I had nothing to prove. That night, I wrote a caption under an old photo of me in my worst awkward phase. It read, "She didn't need to become someone else. She just needed space to become herself." The post went viral. And it wasn't just because of the transformation, it was because it felt true. My glow-up wasn't just physical. It was emotional. Mental. Spiritual. I let go of needing to be chosen by people who never saw me. Stopped chasing approval like it was air. And the weirdest part? The moment I stopped chasing, it all came naturally. Friendships that felt aligned. Opportunities that matched my values. A quiet, steady sense of self. And slowly, without even realizing it, I forgave the version of me who used to beg the world to love her back. She didn't know yet that everything she was looking for was always inside her. Just waiting to be seen. After everything, the real revenge turned out to be peace. Not the dramatic movie scene where I walk past my bullies in slow motion or show up on someone's arm like a trophy. No, the true glow-up was walking into rooms without shrinking. Laughing without checking who's watching. Loving myself without conditions. A few months after the reunion, I moved into a new apartment, small but mine, with sunlight pouring in and walls I decorated exactly how I wanted. Every piece had a story. The mirror where I practiced my speeches. The shelf that held my journals. The cozy chair I curled into while replying to girls who messaged, "You made me feel less alone." I kept creating. My content grew, not because I chased numbers, but because I told the truth. Not the filtered version, just raw, messy, human moments. Some videos were funny, others emotional, but all of them honest. That's what people connected to. And the more I shared, the less power the past had over me. People from high school started following me quietly. Some even reached out. "I'm sorry I never stood up for you. You were always cool, I was just too insecure to admit it. Your confidence now?" Goals. I didn't need their validation, but I appreciated the growth. It reminded me that maybe we all had things we were healing from. Even the ones who hurt me. One day, I got invited to speak at a women's event downtown, one of the biggest I'd ever been asked to do. I stood on stage in a soft pink blazer, a color I used to avoid because I was afraid of being too girly and not taken seriously. But this time, I wore it like armor. I told the crowd my story, not just about the glow-up, but about the pain before it. The loneliness, the quiet dinners, the cruel comments, the desperate nights I Googled how to be prettier. I told them about the day I stopped asking the mirror to change for me and started changing the way I spoke to myself. I ended with this: We spend so much time trying to become someone else, when the most powerful thing we can do is become ourselves completely. Afterward, a line of girls waited to hug me. One had tears in her eyes and whispered, "You said everything I'd been too afraid to admit." That's when I knew. This wasn't just my story. It was all of ours. Every girl who's ever felt too much, not enough, overlooked, underestimated. Every girl who grew in silence, bloomed after heartbreak, built herself back up from scratch. This was for her. For us. And yeah, the people who used to ignore me saw me now. They liked my posts. They followed my journey. Some even asked for advice. But that was just noise. Because the real glow-up wasn't for them. It was for the younger version of me who sat in the back of the classroom hoping someone would notice her. For the girl who used to write in her diary, "I wish I was different." For the woman I became, who knows now she never needed to be. I still get insecure sometimes. I still have days where I scroll and compare and question. But now I catch myself. I remind myself how far I've come. I look in the mirror, not to critique, but to see. I hold space for the messy parts. I celebrate the soft ones. And I walk through life knowing that nothing is more beautiful, more powerful, than a girl who chooses herself. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you're still in the before phase, hang in there. Your glow-up isn't just coming. It's already inside you. Waiting. Growing. Quietly learning how to rise. And when you finally do, it won't be for revenge. It'll be for you.